Welcome back to my Cowboys blog. This is day 2 of the 2014 NFL Draft. Today we'll be picking in the second and third rounds. So congratulations to Zack Martin, Cowboys pick at 16. I was pulling for Zack even though fellow Aggie Johnny Manzeil was there. I love awesome running attacks. 6 yards up the middle on a draw from the 21 formation is about my favorite play. And with great offensive linemen, you can realistically do that. Jerry Jones even joked about it in the press conference after the first round, saying he had a question about getting guys like Flozell Adams and Larry Allen in the second round, and why couldn't you do that now? And he commented on the value of those players have gone up too high, and now you have to get them in the first round. And I was thinking, why is that true? But it's kind of similar to a phenomenon in basketball. It's very rare to both be a huge man and also be athletically talented. It's much more common for a man to be of average size and, of course, average athleticism. And so what you have is there's a larger pool of men of average size that are great athletes, and there's a much smaller pool of large men that are great athletes. So to be both enormous and a tremendous athlete drives your value up too high. And in that context, that's why offensive linemen have just been rising for years. If Dallas Cowboys did not draft Zack Martin, there's not really an offensive lineman I like, that certainly not in the second round. Now that second round offensive linemen are getting drafted in the first round, at the bottom of the first round, you can't wait to get those guys in the second round anymore at all. All right, so I wanted to trade down in addition to taking Martin, but the truth is Martin would be gone, and then we'd be picking second tier offensive linemen. Dallas will be fielding 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen in short order, and that will help us dictate football games. Dallas fought all temptation and frustration, and they did not trade up. They sat there at 16 and got Martin. Now it's on to the second and third round. Unlike some other Dallas Cowboys media houses, I believe Scott Crichton can be a Pro Bowl Weakside Defensive End. Some analysts believe he is too slow for that. I think he is much faster than they realize. I do not want the Cowboys to trade up in the second round, but the rumor mill is saying they will. What I want is a good player to fall to Dallas. All the safeties that Dallas could have had that would improve their team this year are already drafted. Guys that I thought would be second round picks again went in the first round. Dallas may unexpectedly draft a cornerback who fits their system better, but I wouldn't look to Dallas to draft a safety or a cornerback until much later in the draft at this point, because all the best players, the players that Dallas really could improve their team with, are already gone. They have third round and fourth round safeties on the roster already. And so we're going to give those third round and fourth round guys a chance to grow. But I'm really looking here in the second and third round. I'm looking at the defensive line. The rumor mill is saying Dallas will trade up because the run on defensive linemen in the first round was severe, and it's likely to happen again in the second round. At pick 16 in the Dallas really only had one option, Zack Martin. My sense is that is likely to happen again in the second round, meaning that Dallas will only have one option. 4 picks before Dallas drafted, it seemed like there were 3 or 4 guys that Dallas really wanted, but then by the time Dallas was on the clock, there was only one guy they really wanted. I expect that to happen, largely because Dallas is in the middle of every round that they draft in, because they were 8-8, they're picking at 16. In the second round, they pick at 17. Third round, they're back to 16. And they're in the middle rounds, they're always getting kind of like the leftover of the top tier talent from the beginning of that draft, from the beginning of that round. And of course, as the draft goes later, teams have their own interest in what later round players are. So you're more likely to get your guys later in the draft because other teams, they have random interests. But the talented players in the top 100, there tends to be, like a piranha feast right on them. And so we're trying to get the best of those guys in the top 100 while we can. And so with that in mind, I don't want to trade up because we need more top 100 players. We don't need to trade up for one second round guy. We need a second round guy. We need a third round guy. We need a fourth round guy. So when we have that one last player that we can actually draft, I'm thinking it's going to be Scott Crichton. Other media houses, again, don't believe he can play Weakside Defensive End. I do. But if it's not Scott Crichton, I kind of think it could be Timmy Jerrigan. He was a first-round prospect, but then there's this debate about whether he can actually play anything other than the one technique, and there's questions about drug use, I guess. Well, if the drug use drives him to the second round to Dallas Cowboys, and that's all the better for the Cowboys. And, with Dallas needing more specialized players, when they made a transition last year, they tried to call them hybrid players. These were guys that played in a 3-4, but now they're playing in a 4-3 alignment. So they were like, oh, we have a lot of roster flexibility. But it turns out those roster flexible guys are not good enough in a specialized role. When you're really good at a specialized role, no one asks you to be flexible. No one asks Sean Lee to play outside linebacker. And, at the most exaggerated case, no one asked the quarterback to play running back. So Timmy Jerrigan is a very specialized one technique, but we need that. We were terrible at stopping the run on first down, second down. Timmy Jerrigan could be out there for first and second down. Give him a rest on third down. Apparently he needs the rest. He gets better with rest. So just pull him off the field. Get used to pulling guys off the field. I'm all about it. On third down, change the scheme. It's just the way it has to be now. So the dark horse, that gets back to my love affair with the dedication to running the ball in the second round. Could it be Carlos Hyde? I want Dallas to gain 2,500 rushing yards behind three diverse backs. Some writers have knocked the 230-pound running back, saying, how do you carry this guy to games? Does he play on special teams? This is like your third running back. What is he going to do on special teams? He's a little, usually at 230 pounds and a 250-pound fullback, you're usually just a little too big to run on kick coverage and make some tackles. And the deal is usually the fullback or the thumper back do not play kickoff coverage. They can't run down the field fast enough. Coverage should be done mostly by defenders, professional tacklers. But the punter usually has blockers with him. Oftentimes that's two blockers. And that's the perfect gig for backfield blocking tailbacks. They also have experience as blockers, and so they do well on kick return teams. You get them at the front of the blocker schemes, and they'll be the first guys to hit the oncoming defensive players. So they have built-in roles on several special team spots. So for that reason, I actually do like fourth string, fifth string running backs. Last year Dallas carried 5 total tailbacks. They had a fullback. They never carried more than 4 because Lance Dunbar got hurt. Then they switched from carrying Lance Dunbar to carrying Tyler Potts. So they had 4 running backs. 2 of those guys, Philip Tanner and that dude they drafted from Oklahoma State, their main role was to play special teams. And so when we talk about replacing Philip Tanner, which I think they intend to do, then they got to also replace his special team roles. Now, Philip Tanner was of a moderate weight, and so he was a little bit faster than what you expect from your 230-pound running back. That said, I do think that the backup running backs do have special team roles built in for them. Still, I'd be shocked if Dallas took Hyde. I'd rather less investment, and I'd rather we tried for Jeremy Hill in the 4th round. At this point, I really do want Scott Crichton in the 2nd. I see him as a weakside defensive end, and those are hard to come by. If we don't get him, Jackson Jeffcoat in the 3rd round is basically the last weakside defensive end option, and then we're out of luck after that. So if no Crichton or better weakside defensive end is there, I'm hoping for Jerrigan, a real presence at the 1. And then, consequentially, I'm hoping for Jackson Jeffcoat in the 3rd. If we do not get a good weakside defensive end in the 2nd, the 3rd round is a lot more flexible, but I'd still be looking at a defensive tackle. I'm expecting 2 defensive linemen to be drafted today. Run the ball, stop the run. It still works, and we're not good at stopping the run. Whoever we can get, we can bet Dallas won't draft a one-dimensional pass rush only defensive end unless they plan to draft a run-stuffing 2-down defensive end later in the draft. And if they do that, it will be a tip of the hand. All right, good luck, Cowboys.